So you want to read more Greek mythology? Well, you know what they say. To emon aerostromnon, enkeleon pleres estin. Hi friends, my name is Bart, welcome to the channel, and this week we'll be talking all about reading Greek mythology. Now, as always, I will link all the books I talk about down below in the comments so you can research them for yourself. First of all, let's start with the basics. You will need a basic understanding of who the gods and who the heroes and all these names and places are. And there are two ways to go about this. First, you can go for the classics. Starting with the Iliad and the Odyssey, there is nothing wrong with those classic books. They still read very easily, they're still highly engaging, and they will teach you about everything you need to know about Greek mythology. If you want a more contemporary way, you can go with the books of Stephen Fry. The well-known and loved TV presenter, comedian, writer has written 3 books about Greek mythology: Mythos, Troy and Heroes. These 3 books are an ideal gateway into Greek mythology, and they cover about anything you need to know in a fun and engaging way. Now, Stephen Fry oozes a love for Greek mythology, and in his own fun, engaging and typical way, he tries to infect you with the same love. These books are an ideal start for any beginner or anyone who needs a refresher. Another great book that will help you understand Greek mythology and the way it is told is Pandora's Jar by Natalie Haynes. Now, this book addresses a common problem. Most Greek mythology and most tales from that age are told by men for men. And Natalie Haynes shows us what will happen if you take all those female goddesses and heroes and put them on the same level as their male counterparts. Pandora's Jar transitions a classic view on a classic story into the modern age, just as Stephen Fry does. And that's why it's another great book to start with if you're brushing up on Greek mythology. The advantage of these contemporary books is that they are written for a modern audience, with all the sensitivities a modern audience has today. And once you have read these books, you can return to the originals if you want to. If you're done with the basics, however, let's get into my favorite part of Greek mythology, the retellings. Retellings are still Greek mythology stories, but retold from a perspective of a different character. Often a character that you would consider to be either a lesser character or perhaps even the villain. And once you start with retellings, things can get a bit overwhelming. But don't worry, this is why I had you read the basics first. While reading or brushing up on your Greek mythology, you might have encountered certain stories or certain personae that you feel attracted to. You know, your favorite heroes, characters, villains even. Once you know that, you can pick and select any retelling you like. Don't know where to start? Don't worry, let me give you some recommendations. First of all, let's talk Madeline Miller. Madeline Miller has written 2 of my favorite retellings of Greek mythology, being The Song of Achilles and Circe. The Song of Achilles is a retelling of the famous story of Homer, the Iliad, but from the point of view of Patroclus, the friend, lover and sidekick of the well-known hero Achilles. Now, this story is all about their relationship and how Achilles' fame and glory starts to muddle that relationship. The book tells the story of Patroclus, who stands at the side of his lover, his favorite hero Achilles, as a witness, seeing the downward spiral Achilles is in and having to stand by helpless, pleading the love of his life to return to him, knowing that he will lose him. The second book is Circe, which is the retelling of a part of Homer's Odyssey. You might remember Circe. She's the sorceress who lives on an island and turns men into pigs. This book retells the whole story of Circe from her point of view. It is a great way to get into the same story you know and love so well, but see it from a different side, a different point of view, which makes it refreshing and worthy to think about. Let's talk monsters. First of all, we have to talk about Stoneblight by, again, Natalie Haynes, which retells the story of one of the famous monsters from Greek mythology, the Medusa. Like Madeline Miller does in Circe, Natalie Haynes takes the well-known stories and tells them from the point of Medusa. This book allows you to understand Medusa, where she comes from, how she got cursed, and why she does what she does. Again, it's not a black and white story like the originals, but it's all kind of shades of grey. Is she evil? Or is she simply the victim of her circumstance? Again, a great read. Another famous monster is of course the Minotaur, and Jennifer Saint does a great job retelling this story in her book Ariadne. Ariadne is a great modern retelling of this very story, with morally grey characters and a monster we come to know and love. Can't get enough of these retellings? Don't worry, you can keep reading. Atalante, Electra, Galatea. There are so many wonderful titles out there that will scratch that Greek mythology retelling itch. If you want something more modern and contemporary, however, let's get into the third category, that's Greek mythology flavored books. Now these books are a great way to get into Greek mythology, and I would even say that for a lot of people this is where they started. These are not necessarily retellings of old Greek myths, but they certainly have the flavor and the characters in them. And a lot of these books are YA as well. And having arrived here, we have to talk about the Percy Jackson series by Rick Riordan. Now, I don't think I need to introduce the Percy Jackson series. It's a story about Percy, who is a normal boy, up to the day that his maths teacher turns into a monster and tries to kill him. He finds out that he's a demigod, and from there on the story continues. This well-known and well-loved franchise exists out of the 5-part series, some spin-offs and some standalone books on heroes, myths and gods from the Greek mythology era. A lot of young readers, and adults for that matter, love these series, and they are a great way to get into Greek mythology. Another thrilling Greek mythology inspired book is Lore by Alexander Bracken. This book is basically the Hunger Games meet Greek mythology. It tells the story of Lore, the main character, who's drawn into this 7-yearly hunt for a few of the gods who have been punished. And if you can kill a god, you become a new god and become a part of the hunt. Now Lore doesn't want any part in this whatsoever, so she teams up with Athena to turn things around. This dystopian book has great character building, a complex plot, and some surprising story twists. If you like Greek mythology and you're into books like The Hunger Games or Maze Runner, this book is for you. And last but not least, there is The Deep End of the Sea by Heather Lyons. Again, a book about Medusa, but this YA novel is a story about redemption, about healing, and about friendship, with a little bit of romance on the side. It's a heartfelt and relatable story about hitting rock bottom, picking yourself up from the deep and re-emerging through the power of friendship, love and self-care basically. It's a beautiful YA book that I highly recommend to anyone with an interest in Greek mythology. Now before I go, I want to know who is your favorite Greek mythology character. Might be a god, might be a hero, might be a monster. Let me know in the comments. That was it for this week. Hope you liked this video and I will see you soon. Bye.